land that was formerly owned by the federal government. This is Aspire's first health care center transformative project. It's an owner-occupied project with Monmouth Medical as the sole tenant. The program's financing gap analysis is based on a financing of real estate development project with expenses and revenues from a developer landlord perspective. We analyzed a hypothetical financial model that assumed a typical developer arrangement with a commercial tenant to determine if there's a financing gap. We used the maximum rate of return analysis provided by JLL, and with the benefit of the tax credit, the equity IRR is 17.2, which is below the max rate for comparable healthcare developments of 20%. Though the project is not required to meet a minimum job creation threshold, there will be 2,241 permanent jobs as part of the expanded Monmouth Medical Center between both Tinton Falls and the Long Branch location. Of this, 1,963 are existing and 278 will be new permanent jobs. It's expected that the Vogel Medical Campus will ultimately support at least 500 jobs as part of its full build out and part of the larger, broader development. Per the program rules, a commercial transformative project has to meet the special economic importance requirements. The applicant has submitted a certification that the project is directly associated with both an academic, medical, and research institution and a National Cancer Institute designated comprehensive cancer center. Rutgers Cancer Institute is the entity responsible for the oncology service line at Monmouth Medical and also at the cancer center at the Vogel Medical Campus. And the cancer programs operate within the clinical, academic, and research framework between Rutgers and RWJ Health. Additionally, under an affiliation agreement in place since 2018, Rutgers University provides leadership for academic research and educational mission of RWJ Health, satisfying the requirement. Also, the applicant has received a certificate of need from the State Department of Health on January 8th, approving the relocation of Monmouth Medical from its existing facility in Long Branch to the proposed site in Tinton Falls. Based on these factors, staff is recommending board approval for the transfer of the funds in the amount of $331.1 million, the Aspire tax credit in the amount of $400 million, and the 2-month extensions for the project completion. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Thanks, Annie. Just to underscore a couple of things that Annie said, this is the first use of a recent provision change in the Aspire legislation that happened last summer that designates this type of a healthcare facility as a facility of special economic importance. So it is first, but not the last, certainly, of projects of this type. And the team worked very hard with JLL to make sure we were looking at it through the right lens.
This is the first hospital we've done under Aspire.
Yes, not first healthcare facility.
We did a
but
small one in New York.
Right, in FQHC, right.
Any comments or questions are we going to go to the economic analysis next? Or is that?
No.
No, okay.
No, sorry.
All right, so any, it's in the memo that people have received. Any comments or questions? Anyone in the room? Anyone on the phone? Any board members comment?
Motion to approve, Angela.
Fred Dumont, second.
I'm assuming there are no questions then. Thanks for your answer. Okay, so we've heard did you guys get that a motion and a second? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the award is approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. All right, next, Deirdre on 2 items related but separate for Jersey City.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are seeking approval to award $75,852,550 in expired tax credits for a mixed income residential project located in Jersey City at 900 Garfield Avenue 1A in the Canal Crossing redevelopment area. The applicant is Garfield Phase 1A Urban Renewal, LLC, is proposing the new construction of a 6-story building with 215 rental units, including studios, 1 and 2 bedroom units, and includes approximately 6,818 square feet of ground floor retail space. The unit mix includes 172 market rate units and 43 units designated as affordable, making the project an 80-20 split of market rate and affordable. It will also include a 24-hour concierge, lounge, full-service amenities, including a fitness, yoga room, outdoor deck with pool, barbecue stations, and a full gymnasium. The site will also include 73 parking spaces. Ownership of the applicant is represented by a single-purpose entity, Garfield 1A Urban Renewal LLC, which is solely owned by Garfield 1A Member LLC, which is solely owned by Garfield 900 Garfield JV LLC, jointly owned by BOZ 4D Holdings LLC at 95% and 900 Garfield Developer LLC at 5%. The lead development entity is Barai Development, which was established in 1972 and specializes in the development of large-scale public-private mixed-income housing in urban municipalities of New Jersey. The firm develops, leases, and manages its own properties. Two recent projects approved by the board for this developer were 11 Spring Street in New Brunswick on September 10th of 2025 and 930 McCarter Highway in Newark on March 7th, 2024. For this applicant, legal reviews and sister agency checks have cleared. The co-applicant is Elizabeth Development Corporation, and they will be providing services to the residents and also be the recipient of the expired tax credits according to the program rules. Next slide, please. The total development cost is $142,659,380. And to help size the award, we excluded costs that are prohibited by statute and program rules, including land and development fee, which brings the total eligible project cost to $126,420,917. The required developer equity contribution is 20%. It is equal to $28,513,876. And in this case, the developer is contributing $29,095,907, meeting the minimum requirement. We subject the applicant's request to the program's various award caps. And since the project is located in an eligible incentive track, it is eligible to receive up to 60% of total eligible cost or $90 million, whichever is less. And is how we arrived at the previously mentioned award of $75,852,550. To help further size the award, we looked at the project's rate of return. In this case, we used the maximum rate of return model provided by JLL. And with the benefit of the expired tax credit, the equity IRR is 3.34%, which is below the maximum return for comparable multi-family residential units developments in Jersey City of 15.37%. Based on these factors, we are recommending an Aspire award of $75,852,550 for board approval. And if approved, the project construction will begin in April of 2026 and take approximately 36 months to complete. Happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions in the room? Again, this developer is, we've done at least 2 other projects with them.
Yes.
Yeah. McCarter's up, right? It's,
Yes.
yeah.
Most complete.
Anyone on the phone, questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, could I hear a motion to approve?
So move, Weinrich.
Thanks, Scott. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, it is approved.
Thank you. For the next project, we are seeking approval to award $90 million in Aspire tax credits for a mixed income residential project located in Jersey City at 900 Garfield Avenue 1B, also in the Canal Crossing redevelopment area. The applicant, Garfield Phase 1B Urban Renewal LLC, is proposing the new construction of a 5 to 10 story building with 293 rental units, including 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. This also includes approximately 11,689 square feet of ground floor retail space. The unit mix for this building includes 234 market rate units and 59 units designated as affordable, making this project an 80-20 split of market and affordable. Building 1B also includes a 24-hour concierge, a pool, lounge, yoga rooms, fitness rooms, and barbecue stations, etc. But this site has underground parking for 212 parking spaces. Ownership of this applicant is represented by a single-purpose entity, Garfield Phase 1B Urban Renewal LLC, which is solely owned by Garfield Phase 1B Member LLC and owned also by 900 Garfield JB LLC, which is jointly owned by BOZ 4D Holdings LLC at 95% and 900 Garfield Developer at 5%. The lead development entity is on this deal, Orion Development, and as just mentioned, they have done several deals with the NJEDA and have also cleared separate legal reviews and sister agency checks for this project as well. The co-applicant on this deal is also the Elizabeth Development Corporation, which will be providing services to the residents and will be the recipient of the Aspire tax credits according to program rules. Next slide, please. For this development, the total cost of development is $177,590,802. And to help size the award, we excluded costs that are prohibited by statute program rules, including land and developer fee. And that brings the total eligible cost to $159,114,320. The required developer equity is 20% and is equal to $35,518,160. And in this case, the developer is contributing exactly $35,518,160, which is the minimum requirement. We subject the applicant's request to programs rules and various board caps. And since the project is in an eligible incentive track, it is eligible for up to 60% of an Aspire award or $90 million of the total eligible cost, which is whichever is less. And in this case, the $90 million is less, and that is how we arrived at the $90 million. So to further help size the award, we looked at the project's rate of return. And in this case as well, we used the maximum rate of return model provided by JLL. And with the benefit of the Aspire tax credit, the equity IRR is 4.21%, which is below the minimum for comparable multi-residential projects in Jersey City of 15.37%. Also, if this project is approved, construction will commence in April of 26 and take approximately 36 months to complete. And so we are recommending an Aspire award of $90 million for approval. And that concludes my presentation.
Deirdre, I know we talked about this in committee, but is there any reason why they were done separately?
Well, I will say that we haven't spoken specifically as to why, but when applicants apply to Aspire, they plan well in advance. And these are two separate projects by way of financing,
Okay.
permitting, and things of that nature. And we've done enough due diligence to confirm that they are two separate projects.
Including through the local redevelopment agency. which is also
Absolutely.
Viewing these as two
Okay.
distinct projects.
All right, good. And they're next to each other, essentially, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they're on the same.
Anyone in the room have questions or comments?
Is 1A and 1B intended to be phased, or do you think they're going to start at the same time?
They're intended to start at the same time. The developer has stated that the construction will commence in April for both projects.
Impressive.
You're welcome.
Anyone on the phone, comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, can I hear a motion to approve? Thanks, Elizabeth. Second?
Second.
Elijah, second.
Phil on that one. How's that? All right. Thank you, Phil. Hearing no further questions, could I, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, it is approved.
Thank you.
All right, next on to Brownfield. Susan on Saraville Seaport Associates.
Good morning. So this is a familiar name, but perhaps not as familiar a program that we're going to talk about today. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the Brownfield and Contaminated Site Remediation Act program. It actually dates back to the early 2000s when it was managed by Commerce and then came over to EDA in about 2008. The nature of the program is a cash reimbursement to developers to incent them to take on these dirty brownfield sites, clean them up, and install businesses operating on them that can provide tax revenues to the state. The awards are up to 75% of the actual remediation cost as certified by DEP. And this presents an agreement that's actually signed by EDA, the developer, and the treasurer, since taxation manages those disbursements yearly. I think we can pop to the next slide, please. So this particular project, as I said, is familiar to you. This is Saraville Seaport Associates. They are the project that received the $400 million Aspire grant a couple years back, or award a couple years back.
Which we think of as Riverton.
We think of as Riverton around the halls, yes.
Or Bass Pro Shop.
Sure. The brownfield itself is about 410 acres, 250 acres of which is this Aspire that you're all familiar with. And as you mentioned, they've been ongoing and getting some of that upright, and that's great to see. So back years and years and years ago, late 90s, National Lead was operating there. National Lead is who we all think of as Dutch Boy Paints. They were creating dyes there and other chemicals. And as they exited the site, there's lots of concern as to how the site would be remediated. There were about $40 million of estimated costs at the time for remediation, but it was understood at the time there was limited exposure to the site and there really wasn't full site investigation work available at the time. So that was the best number that could come up with. That number served to be the good faith estimate as folks entered into this brownfield award. The program allowed, as I said, 75% of remediation costs. So this award was granted with 75% of that 40 million, about 30 million in costs to be reimbursed to the developer once the whole thing was complete. To catalyze the efforts at the site, DEP also approved 4 $5 million tranches of HGSRF grants at the time. That was a kind of a shot in the arm to get the whole thing started. Remediation efforts have been happening nonstop for the last 15 years there. At this point, costs have skyrocketed to expected 169 million all in by the time they're complete. So Saraville Seaports has come in and asked first to increase that amount and also recognize that in the agreement terms, there was a need for the first $10 million in tax revenues to sort of be squirreled away just as an insurance policy to make sure the whole site was clean. At this point, there's a lot of confidence. They've spent 139 million to date. We agree that that's not necessary at this point. And we agree with their request to replace that provision with the requirement that the licensed site remediation professional would provide us a certification that all remedial efforts, but for those that relate to the construction cap, would be done before that $10 million would be released. So I hope I tied that together. I know there's a lot of history in here. I don't want to, I certainly have a lot of details I'm happy to explore in here. But staff has looked at this and recommend that that escrow be removed and replaced as asked for. And in order to address the concern for more state support needed here, under consultation with DEP, we looked back at those HT grants. They were grants written as such, and it makes sense to align the agreement to recognize that fact and not require the $20 million in tax revenues to be diverted to the DEP fund, but rather go back to the developer.
And DEP is comfortable with this?
Let's get it done.
By the way, that was a great explanation because this is complicated.
Any questions I can answer? for instance?
The escrow, I'm sorry, Chair, the escrow, that was just all part of the negotiation, or is that required by statute to actually have an escrow?
It was negotiated in this particular contract. It's not something we've seen in other brownfield award contracts. And I think it was a sign of the times. It was a very contentious moment to try to get National Lead out of the site, try to get something going there. And DEP certainly was at the table and very concerned to make sure this all got done. But they've been a brownfield development area designee for a long time. So DEP is actively participating quarterly. And I've gotten a chance to sit through a few of those meetings with them to really know what's going on with the site. And they show confidence that this will certainly will get done.
Thank you.
This is site.
That is, I wanted to give you a flavor. The rendering at the bottom was what you saw presented to support the Aspire. But as of now, we have the shell of Bass Pro up, and this was even maybe a month ago. I don't know if you all have driven up near the Driscoll Bridge, but it is a mammoth structure. I joke it looks like you're coming upon the Great Wolf Lodge. It's just this really giant building, but it's really exciting to see. It's been a lot of years in the making. I know that we hear projects that say that often here, but this has been decades. So the community is really, really excited to see that. And we're really looking forward to seeing how it all takes shape.
So we are really amending the agreements in line with the original spirit of the agreement, perhaps. And
Absolutely.
the developer has spent $100 million plus more than this on remediation,
Absolutely.
with possibly more to go. Okay, any questions, comments? Anyone on the phone, questions or comments?
Second motion.
Yes.
There we go.
People must have a plane to catch. Second?
Fred Dumont will second it.
All right, Fred, we'll take that as a second. Any further questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none is approved again. Thank you for explaining a complicated matter. All right, I'm going to give a quick policy committee report. The NJEDA's policy committee met on January 6th and considered several items which were being presented for action today, including funding allocation for the previously approved New Jersey Business Acceleration and Soft Landing Ecosystem, or NJ BASE, and multiple hearing officer recommendations regarding appeals of declinations under the New Jersey FilmWorks program. First, on legal affairs, Marcus, on the FilmWorks declination recommendations.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Today we have 4 FilmWorks appeals. The first we'll start with is Black Belt Country Productions. This applicant was declined after receiving a total score of 73, which is below the 80-point threshold required to qualify. The appeal makes 2 primary arguments. The first is that there were significant deviations in scoring by one reviewer compared to others, particularly with regard to criteria 2, the ability to serve overburdened communities, and criteria 3 sub A, the ability to provide wraparound services and low and no cost training. And the second is improper consideration of union affiliation, which the applicant claimed was irrelevant to the non-union positions targeted by its program. The appeal cited extensive outreach strategies and partnerships with organizations in Newark, East Orange, and Jersey City, as well as detailed wraparound services such as transportation, meals, stipends, child care referrals, mental health resources, and job placement supports. The applicant also argues that penalizing for lack of union ties was factually incorrect because roles like production assistants and assistant editors are non-union positions typically. With regard to the first argument, I found that the divergent scoring among reviewers is permissible and does not by itself indicate any error. It is not per se unreasonable that one reviewer might weigh the same set of facts differently than the others. That assertion alone is not evidence that reviewers' scores are unsubstantiated. In fact, reviewers' 2 scoring comments reflect an understanding of the scoring rubric, as those comments specifically address parts of it. It may very well be true that reviewer 2's perception of the facts drawn from the application differs from that of the other reviewers, but there is no indication that reviewer 2's understanding of the scoring rubric or application or the facts was in any way deficient. The reviewer's comments indicate an understanding of the substance of the rubric and the application, resulting in their own reasoned opinion. With respect to the applicant's second argument, that the reviewer's comments and scores reflect a fundamental misunderstanding of the occupation at the center of their program, the rubric explicitly allows preference for employment of union or guild-affiliated instructors under certain criteria. More specifically, criteria 4 sub B allows for awarding more points if the program employs union or guild instructors, not program participants. The applicant misunderstood this distinction and provided no evidence that instructors could not be unionized. The evaluation process adhered to EDA's methodology. The reviewers' comments were consistent with rubric standards, and the applicant, I don't believe, met its burden to justify reversal. Accordingly, the recommendation is to uphold the original declination and reject this appeal.
Marcus, could I just interrupt for 1 second to remind everybody, because we discussed this in committee. These are about the program itself, right? So this is, these are awards to entities who will then build, create training programs, workforce development for people in the film industry, right? Just so everybody has the context. And we had a process.
Matrix.
Scoring came in.
Yeah, it was very detailed. It was one of the better ones I've seen, to be honest. My Hero Pictures is next. This applicant failed to meet the minimum score of 80 points, having scored a 42.67. After receiving the declination letter, the applicant submitted its appeal, which it later supplemented after having been provided with its score sheets. The applicant argues that the reviewers overlooked or undervalued critical elements of its proposal, including its multi-phase program structure, cohort support mechanisms, workforce placement partnerships, budget sustainability plan, and management capacity. The applicant also pointed to references in its submission regarding in-kind support and partnerships intended to sustain programming beyond the grant term, as well as the leadership team's professional experience in project management. Upon consideration of this appeal, I determined that, among other things, these assertions did not demonstrate alignment with the scoring rubric. For example, the appeal's first point heading, program structure and operational plan, does not comport with any of the scoring criteria. Furthermore, though the applicant states that its application included information related to each of the identified areas, the nature of a competitively scored program requires the applicant provide the requisite detail so that reviewers can analyze the application under the scoring criteria and award a higher score where warranted. For example, under criteria 5 regarding budget sustainability, the applicant received minimal scores from all 3 reviewers, which corresponds to the budget aligning with the proposed program in some areas, but having a limited plan for sustainability. Conversely, the review confirmed that certain strengths of the application were appropriately recognized as well, such as with criteria 4B regarding the employment of instructors with experience. Here, the applicant earned above average and best scores for utilizing instructors with current real-world industry experience, including those with union and guild affiliations as contemplated in the rubric. This demonstrates that the reviewers fully reviewed the application submission and evaluated it accordingly. I believe the evaluation process is fair and consistent, and the applicant did not meet its burden to justify reversal. Accordingly, with this one, I also recommend to uphold the original declination and reject this appeal. Click Studios, the applicant was designed for not meeting the 80-point requirement, having scored a 54.07. The appellant generally argues that the original evaluation may not have fully recognized the strengths of its outreach strategy, its history of delivering creative-based training, and its alignment with the EDA's goals for equity and workforce development. The appeal identified 3 broad points. Number 1, alignment with key evaluation criteria. 2, its ability to meet industry needs. And 3, its ability to service overburdened communities. However, these arguments largely reiterated the application's content without identifying any scoring errors or procedural irregularities. For example, the applicant argued that its recruiting strategy should have merited full points for serving overburdened communities and that its training program strongly aligned with industry needs. The applicant did not provide evidence that the reviewers acted arbitrarily, capriciously, or unreasonably, nor did it demonstrate that the reviewer comments or scores were inconsistent with the rubric. I found that the appeal generally amounted to a request for reconsideration rather than a substantive challenge to the scoring process. The applicant was provided with its scoring sheets and offered an opportunity to supplement its appeal, but elected not to do so. The applicant failed to establish or even identify any grounds for overturning the declination. I found that the scoring process was transparent and consistent. Accordingly, the recommendation is to uphold the original declination and reject this appeal as well. Last one, KBOT. The applicant was declined due to all available funding having been allocated to higher scoring applicants. So they did meet the 80, but there was nothing left after the funding was exhausted to higher scoring applicants. In its appeal, KVIBE asserts 3 principal strengths: guaranteed job placement for graduates through owned productions and a verified filmmaker network, complete vertical integration from training to distribution, ensuring a sustainable employment pipeline, and 3, alignment with community needs, minority leadership, and a proven track record with EDA programs. The applicant's arguments, while highlighting its program merits, did not allege any procedural errors, scoring irregularities, or bias. Instead, it reiterated information largely contained in its original application, and the appeal presents as a request for reconsideration. No irregularities or evidence of improper action were identified. The appeal fails to establish any substantive grounds for reversal. Accordingly, again, the recommendation is to uphold the declination and reject this appeal.
Everybody, they all had opportunities to respond. Some did, some didn't. You consider them.
Yes.
What happens from here, if assuming the board supports Marcus? Is there a further appeal process or?
Not within EDA, they would have to go to court to the appellate division. And as a reminder, each one needs a separate vote.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments for Marcus? Anyone on the phone, questions or comments? We'll go through these one at a time. Okay, so the first is to uphold the hearing officer's recommendation as to K-Vibe Productions' appeal of its decline for participation. All those in favor signify by saying, need a motion? Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the recommendation is upheld. Second, hearing officer's recommendation as the Black Belt Country Productions appeal of its decline. Could I hear a motion to approve?
Dragon motion.
Count on the team. Second,
Fred Dumont, second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, the motion is recommendation is upheld. Third, hearing officer's recommendation as to Click Studios appeal. Could I hear a motion to approve?
Angela.
We'll take Fred as a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Hearing none, the recommendation is upheld. And finally, hearing officer's recommendation as to the My Hero Pictures appeal. Could I hear a motion to approve?
Motion, Weimer.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Hearing none, the recommendation is upheld. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.
All right, next on authority matters, Andrew Gross, Director of International Innovation, on the funding source for NJ Base.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Obviously, I'm coming back this morning on NJ Base to request board approval to use real estate project fund appropriation instead of the previously approved appropriation for this. As we know, the New Jersey Business Acceleration and Soft Landing Ecosystem, also known as NJ Base, is an EDA-led initiative designed to attract and support international companies and entrepreneurs looking to enter the U.S. market. We're planning to have, as we know from previous approvals, about 15 to 20 companies enter New Jersey per year from countries around the world. Back in June and September of last year, the board approved $3,639,990 for NJ Base. That included a 3-year lease and improvements costs, which was $902,165, fixtures and equipment at $385,825, and a 3-year contract with our selected operator SOSA at $2,352,000. So these costs, again, were allocated from our operating budget. We are now requesting that these funds instead be drawn from the state fiscal year 2023 appropriation for real estate project funding, which has $5.7 million in uncommitted funds. Of course, this has been confirmed by our finance team. They've taken a look at this. So the objectives of NJ Base, of course, are aligned with the intent of the real estate project funds, and this change will free up the operating budget for other expenses needed across the authority. So staff recommends the board approve the $3,639,990 from the real estate project fund appropriation as the updated funding source for NJ Base. Thanks so much.
What's the timing of actually getting the site up and running?
So the two-part question. The site itself will be ready, I think, in about 30 days. And the applications, we're looking at about somewhere about 30 to 60 days to actually start taking applications.
Great.
So just to kind of summarize what this does, with this, we have state appropriations to fully fund the operation of the NJEDA facility for 3 years. And that's consistent with the budget that we did adopt for calendar year 2026, and gets us off to the races. So what Andrew's talking about as far as applications would be the mechanism for opening the doors to those international companies to come in, meet with SOSA, and see how they fit within the program guidelines, which this board also approved last year. So
Absolutely.
we should be, knock on, if this is wood, ready to fully launch NJ Base with no further board action needed for a while.
Yes, please.
The facility is in Jersey City?
Yeah.
Yes, located at 3 2nd Street, right on the waterfront.
Okay, any questions, comments in the room? Questions or comments on the phone? Okay, hearing none, could I hear a motion to approve? Move, Leonard. Thanks, Josh. Second.
Elijah, second.
Thank you, Phil. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, it is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary, you want to do board memoranda?
Sure. So in your package, for FYI, there are 2 memoranda. One is our community development delegated authority approval summary for Q4 of 25. And the other is the real estate division's lease and rights of entry summary for Q3 of 25. Just a couple of things to highlight, especially from the community development report. You'll see that under our small business improvement grant program, we had a total of $5.2 million of funding awarded across 156 applications. And then with the lease grant, another $1.8 million across 65 applications. Under the Main Street Acquisition Support Grant, we had $500,000 awarded across 15 applications. And with AC Revitalization Phase 2, 2 applications for a total of $3 million. So more in your package for reading pleasure. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, I would now like to request a motion to enter executive session to discuss a confidential matter regarding the use and recovery of public funds, which could adversely affect the public interest if discussions are disclosed, and a personnel matter, the minutes of which will become available when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Do I hear a motion to approve? Move it, Leonard. Thank you. Second. Thank you, Elizabeth. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, recusals, or abstentions? Okay, hearing none, we will now enter executive session.
So members in the room, other than those who need to stay, should be exiting the executive session. Thank you. Not, no, that's the.
What's happening with the grocery store?
They just back.